Check.
All right, we're live. Are we doing the secondary check?
I feel like we kind of have to, because
It's ritual.
it's a ritual, and...
Go over here.
Okay, we are live. Welcome, everyone, to Instagram Live. This is the last one of 2021.
It is, yeah.
And we were actually just talking. We started doing these in, was it March or April?
We do need a second.
Yeah, like March or April 2020. So
Yeah.
it's been like 18 months about.
We were in the Melrose office.
Yeah.
I think it was like right when COVID. I think we were in this idea of like, okay, how can we get the Goldfinger group to be more involved in the marketplace and also have people like show people, okay, this is what we're doing, but also here's an inside look to LA real estate, which I still don't see anybody really doing it today.
Yeah, I think it was also like there was this like disconnection with people
Mm-hmm.
where you're so used to meeting people in person, and it was just like such an abnormal time.
Mm-hmm.
We were all adjusting to this, to not being in person with each other and wearing these muzzles, and it was just like it was. We just felt like it was so hard to get in front of people, and we wanted to connect with people,
Yeah.
and so that's why we started doing these Instagram lives, and so. I think we've gotten a little bit better at them, and it's been a
Get
slow
ready
but
for
steady.
HGTV.
Exactly. Yeah. So today we want to talk about kind of the I think it's pronounced aha moments. Is that how?
Aha.
I actually wasn't sure because like we coughed a lot this past week. I wasn't sure if it was that but I think these
Thankfully not. It's the other one.
the aha moments. So like the takeaway, the lessons that we learned, the big the memories, the things that we're taking away from 2021, hopefully learning from and taking with us into 2022.
Exactly. And there's three categories to it. And I think the first one we're going to focus on is more macro of kind of what's gone on in the world and specifically how it pertains to real estate.
And so in the world, in the macro category, the things that we've really seen that have been somewhat unprecedented and that we see having made big changes this past year are the speed in which the market moves, the world moves, information travels. That's it's like kind of like a two-part but connected aha, which is again the speed that the market, the world, and information moves, as well as the intertwining of the global economy and the globalized world.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think what's happening is, information is so easily attainable, and there's all these sources, right? You have, all the news outlets, you have social media. Kai's making an appearance. Again, she can't help herself. She just loves Instagram Live. Right, so people are getting this information, and I think what's happened is, this is my personal take, is that the world's gotten a little bit more polarized, right? So with politics, with religion, with COVID, right, people are a little bit more emotional, and so they get affected a little bit more when these things happen. Okay, Go ahead, we'll get rid of Kyle.
Yeah, the information is, it's not just accessible, it's so instantly pushed in front of us. So you'll be like, on your phone or just walking, and a message will come up on an app from a news feed, and we'll give you information about the stock market. We'll give you information about a COVID outbreak. We'll give you information about some things you don't want to know about, some things you do want to know about. But regardless, the speed at which information travels, and then once people have that information, the way that they react, for us it really pertains economically, but it's really pervasive into all aspects of our lives. Mm-hmm. But from the way that it really impacts our business is you can have, let's say, a COVID outbreak somewhere, and that will people get alerted about it, and then it could have an impact on the marketplace, which can then have an impact on us.
Exactly, and there's this globalization, which I think maybe you were just talking about, right? Where like, okay, that happens, there's a supply chain issue, and this is going on at one of our properties where like the price of copper shot up like 3-4 months ago. We're doing a repipe on 27 units. So our contractor was like, well, let's switch to PEX. And over the past 2 months, because copper was so expensive, everybody moved to PEX. Now PEX is so expensive. So there's this interplay that's happening globally, the speed of information, and then now it's not just micro locations. It's not just, okay, well now it affects like the wildfires in California don't just affect California, right? They affect the U.S. and then that plays into the global economy.
Right. A lot of it has to do with temperament and optimism, pessimism. And so because of that, what we've seen over the last year or two is that the market moves so much faster than it used to, where you used to have periods like bull markets where the market goes up. Upswings of the market used to last for like 3 to 4 years, and then you'd have 10 to 12 months of a downswing. And what we've been seeing over the last couple of years, and what's probably going to continue, is shorter swings. So instead of having 3 to 4 years, maybe you have 2 to 3 years or 2 years. And then in terms of downturns, you have, let's say, 4 to 6 months at a time. So, and I think it's going to continue to get shorter and shorter just because of how quickly information gets released to people so quickly and instantaneously.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, I think we'll take that to the next step of, okay, so aha moment 2021, the Goldfinger Group, right? So there's this, macro perspective on the market. So now let's talk about, what did we realize this year at the Goldfinger Group? And I think it's almost a good segue from the first point is like, it's all about the details, right? It's easy to say this is happening or that's happening or we got to do this versus like really being in it and being proactive and understanding, right, what's going on. If there's a problem, knowing what the problem is, what are your solutions, right? Because there's different options, right? And one option may cost a certain amount of money and take a certain amount of time versus the other option, and there's always that trade-off. And the only way that you can really make a decision is by being in the weeds.
Yeah, I think as we get into larger properties with more sophisticated sellers, the opportunities, the devil's in the details, right? And so I think over the last decade or so since I've been in real estate, I've kind of seen things more in terms of, do things make sense on the broad strokes, right? And do I have a good gut feeling about this, right? And now what I'm seeing is that we really need to dive into the details, even if, and by the way, if the gut feeling is not right or the broad strokes don't make sense, a lot of times you need to have that filter to say, this is a waste of time. But when things do make sense, when we do have a good gut feeling, that is not enough. That is not sufficient to proceed on a deal. What we need is to fact check. What we need is to have an analysis of the data points, and the more organized, the more detailed that we are, the more accessible the data points become, so that we can either confirm that what we believe, what we feel, and what we see is true, or we can really challenge it and say, you know what, even though this looks like a good deal, even though we think the broad stroke numbers make a lot of sense, when we look at the facts, when we look at the details and we analyze it, does it really? Yeah,
exactly. And it comes down to like all aspects of our business. And, specifically, I think a lot of things that we've learned and I think we've progressed across the board, how we intake investors, our investor relations, our contractor relationships, dealing with the city, like everything. I feel like we've gotten so much better. I think probably a couple nights ago we were talking about this. But specifically for me is with construction and, knowing the different phases, how long everything should take. And it goes back to number one where, the construction world has changed with supply of materials, the city, entering units that are tenant occupied, right? Like all these things have changed, and unless you're in it and really focused, hyper focused, you're not gonna know. And because of that shift, we've become adapted to how it's working today and being able to optimize that process, right? So, I've been saying this a lot lately. It's like a lot of people will wait to do B once A's done, and they won't start C until B's done, and then D, and they'll follow the chain. But really, you can prepare B, you can prepare C, D, all the way to X, Y, Z, while A's still happening. And I think that's something that we've gotten really good at, is like, okay, understanding the first phase may take 60 days, and the second phase may take another 60 days, but we can get a 15-day, 30-day head start, whether it's applying for permits, getting our architect into a property to propose new layouts, do the ADU, do the construction, do the engineering plans for our water calcs and our electrical load calcs. Like all these things is being super proactive. And the only way that we've been able to get better at that is because we've been so involved in these projects.
So involved and so detailed, and sometimes you can see that C can actually be done before B, right? If you really dive into it, even though there may be a strategic order to things. Sometimes you look at it and you say, well, this thing comes in the fourth place, but you can't necessarily allow things number 2 and 3 to hold up number 4. So sometimes number 4 could happen, even though it can happen earlier than things 2 and 3, even though in the list you really think sequentially it should happen later. But yeah, I think just to echo what you said, it's been a lot of learning over the last year. We're not perfect. We're not, we're never going to be perfect because things constantly change. And the goal is not to be perfect. It's really to do the best that we can, continuously learn, know that there's going to be hurdles, know that there's going to be obstacles, know that we're going to make mistakes along the way, but develop a better systems, better tools, a better team, and just continuously grow with the skill sets that we have. So it's been an amazing learning experience and a lot of growth over this past year professionally, and now we're going to segue into the personal part of this Instagram Live and talk about the ways that we've grown and the things that we're taking with us from 2021 into the future. And with that, I'll let Max go.
I was going to say, you can hit us with it. Let's go. Yeah, number one, tying it into TGG is don't talk to Elijah before like 11:30. He hasn't eaten, so that's his grumpiest. Once he eats, by all means. No, I'm joking, but
half joking.
Yeah, my life has changed a lot. We started about 3.5 years ago, and my involvement with you, with what we're doing, like I started out just hitting the phones, getting acquisitions, to being involved in the asset management phase, and now making strategic decisions together. I just moved to Delray. I got Kaya this year, who made a star appearance, and I would say like my aha moment, or where I've seen the biggest growth in myself, is tying it all together is like being aware, and the way to be really aware is to listen well, right? The only way to be in the details and see what's going on is like you have to sit back, you have to look at it from this third person perspective, from an objective perspective, and really observe the situation. So I think I've become like a much better listener, and I've become a lot more patient with, Kaya's 1 year old. She's a dog. She can't tell me what she wants. I mean, she does through her body language, through barking or whining or whatever, right? So the only way to make sure she's getting what she wants, or our projects are going well, is to take that backseat, be patient, and listen, and have like hyper awareness. And I would say for me, that's been my biggest growth this year.
Got it. That's thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. I don't know. It's for me, it's been a lot this year. I moved to Santa Monica, which I've always wanted to live in Santa Monica. So it's really been amazing. It's just been like a phenomenal change for me to live by the ocean and really just like appreciate where I live every day. And I think it's like, I think it's just so important to have a place to call home that feels good. And it's like been a really good change for me to move to Santa Monica. I guess why I'm like a little bit nervous to talk about the next part is because so basically this past year my grandfather passed away, and it was a very big the first time I've lost a grandparent. I remember losing my great grandparents, but to lose a grandfather who I spent a lot of time with was very difficult for me. And still processing and everything, because it's only been 6 or 9 months or so. But I try to take away, and it's interesting. Like when people are alive, it's harder to appreciate them. It's harder to learn from them. It's when they're not with us that it's for some reason it's like we're able to take away the lessons and take with us what we learned while they were alive. And so my grandfather, one of the many things that I try to take with me is, my grandfather was he was a really fun person to be around. He was a stand-up comedian when he was younger. He was an entertainment lawyer, and he wrote some movies.
What was it? 1 foot?
Yeah, Stay One Step Ahead.
One Step Ahead.
Yeah, Stay One Step Ahead in one of his movies. But just as a person, as a grandfather, as a human, he was just always fun, lighthearted, would always be making jokes, and we would always have a good time. But one thing that my older brother named his son, which is a other crazy story. My older brother had their baby was born literally within hours of my grandfather passing, and so naturally they named my nephew after my grandfather. And my brother Zeke, what he was saying at the bris was that our grandfather was, even though he was always joking around, he was always kind. And so I think just like being kind and considerate of others, like if someone's able to do that when they're joking around and they're able to be considerate, to not hurt other people's feelings and to be kind while they're joking around, then that's something that, you know, I can take with me. I can try to take with me into all aspects of my life. And so I think that, you know, within business, it's like there's often the opportunity to put people down, right, as part of like a negotiation, as part of just like, you know, being the man type of thing. There's often the and sometimes it's like really easy. Like you see a lot of stand-up comedians, the first thing that they'll do is they'll poke fun at people in the audience because it's so easy to do that. And I think in business, especially when you're, you know, the buyer, or the, you know, in a position where you can, where sometimes it's easy to do that, it takes a bigger man to really be considerate and sensitive and kind to other people and show that consideration. And so I think that that's something that I try to take with me. Definitely an aha moment. I'm far from perfect at it, but it's something that I hope to take with me into not just the coming year, but for years to come.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's the end of 2021 almost. I joke, like as soon as I told Elijah yesterday, I was like, I hate the holidays. I don't actually, I love the holidays, but it's because everybody stops working, everybody slows down. I think this is a good time for you and I, like we're reflecting on, you know, how did 2021 go? You know, what was our anticipation of it? Reflect on it, and you know, kind of what we're saying is continue to be better, right? What are areas in our business and what we're doing and the people that we're working with? Like, how can we be better? How can we better serve the people that we're working with, the communities that we're working in? You know, all these aspects. You know, how can we be better and look ahead? I mean, not get too antsy yet because there's still, you know, some time left of this year, but you know, looking ahead to 2022, like how can we be better? How can we grow the Goldfinger Group? How can we have a better, stronger, more positive impact?
Yeah, I'll say that if anyone has any suggestions on what we can do, if you guys are watching this, or certain topics you want to hear about, you know, if you think we need a new camera or anything on the technical side. Yeah. And the other thing I just want to point out, because I know we always
check
say,
if there's any questions. We
are looking to hire an acquisition associate. So if anyone is watching this and wants to work in acquisitions for us, we're looking to ramp up our acquisitions going into 2022. And we have some goals of hitting additional acquisitions this coming year. So if anyone's looking to work with us or know someone who could be interested in working with these two guys, please feel free to reach out at the Goldfinger Group, at Elijah Koropkin, Maxx at thegoldfingergroup.com.
Thank you.
See you next time. See you in 2022.